did not nullify Section 7 of the Constitution. The new laws of Anambra House of Assembly are therefore consequential to give operational life to the Supreme Court judgment and not to undermine it. If the State House of Assembly abdicates this constitutional duty, the local government will then have no law on the use and management of its finance, which the Constitution has given the State House of Assembly, and only the House of Assembly, the mandate to legislate upon. Indeed, in many states, the House of Assemblies still retain the powers to suspend or remove chairpersons of local governments, because according to the Constitution, these powers reside with the state houses of assemblies. By the way, isn't the legislative authority exercised by state assemblies under Section 7 of the Constitution similar to the powers granted by the same Constitution to the National Assembly over the Federal Capital Territory and its area councils? I understand that the Senate President has recently, at one of the plenary sessions, rhetorically asked if it was indeed possible to grant the kind of autonomy, quote and unquote, some people talk about without major amendments to the Constitution. Many Nigerians also ask the same question. I also understand that the Senate recently passed a resolution or resolved to begin the process of constitutional amendment in this regard, to grant the kind of autonomy that some people talk about. And I said this is a welcome development. But until that is done, our laws pursuant to the Constitution and designed to give operational effect to the Supreme Court judgment remain subsisting and valid. A critical instrument, ladies and gentlemen, for moving through our evolving federation and delivering higher efficiency and effectiveness in development is through structured collaboration among the tiers of government. No one is an island. No tier of government enjoys absolute autonomy. For example, the federal government has exclusive rights over solid minerals, for example, but the states have also exclusive right over the land. Only a collaborative framework will maximize benefits from natural resources. Currently, there is a collaborative funding for the security agencies. The states and local governments contribute tens of billions monthly, and this is deducted directly from FAC every month towards the funding of the armed forces, which are exclusively under the federal government. At the state levels, each state is spending a fortune of its own revenues on logistics and operational costs for the federal security agencies. The federal government, states and local governments are jointly paying for the FGN, federal government's initiative on metering, for example. The states understand the above emergency measures as part of the collaborative arrangements to make Nigeria work better. A federal agency, the Debt Management Office, must clear any state government seeking to borrow from domestic financial system, while the National Assembly must approve states borrowing, external borrowing. The federal UBEC, Universal Basic Education Commission, insists on counterpart funding by the states before it can release federal funds for basic education, and also supervises the utilization of the contributions by states. There is a dozen or more areas of oversight of federal agencies over state finances. The above illustrations are simply to make the point that no tier of government can function in absolute autarky without collaboration with others. The three tiers of government have only one objective, and that is the security and welfare of the citizens. You can't have anyone, I mean, it's just not by our constitution that any one of them can function in absolute, I don't know what they mean, autarky, you know, you are on your own. No one. That is, we all collaborate. The federal government is not completely autonomous of the states, nor are the states autonomous of the federal government, and nor will local government be autonomous of the states and the federal. That's the way that you have in a federation. Every federation is a collaborative arrangement to achieve the same objective: security and welfare of the citizens. So, and I want to say that given the functions assigned to the local government by the Constitution, it is impossible to see how they can perform them without active collaboration with state governments. Because the Constitution did not envisage, quote, absolute autonomy for local governments, it gave the State House of Assembly powers to make laws for them, and they equally did not create a local government judiciary distinct from the state judiciary. The local government don't have their own judiciary. If you become an independent, autonomous government, how do you enforce your stuff? You still have to go to state judiciary, to federal judiciary to enforce whatever you do. So this whole talk about whatever people mean in a federation. The two legislations passed by the progressive Anambra House of Assembly, and they are here. Hold on there. Seek to achieve three objectives: A, consistency with the Constitution and judgment of the Supreme Court; enhance transparency and productive collaboration in a federation; and the promotion of sustainable finance, democracy, and development at the local government. The laws seek to codify the collaborative arrangements to promote transparency and accountability. We seek to avoid ad hoc or arbitrary arrangements. We are building to last. The good news is that the eminent jurists at the Supreme Court did not outlaw collaboration and cooperation among the local governments. They didn't outlaw that in funding joint or common services, nor did it nullify Section 7 of the Constitution. What the new laws simply require is that all the chairmen, one of the requirements is beautiful laws. You need to read them and see the innovations, in terms of advancing the discourse and the operations of our federal structure. But these new laws, what they simply require, part of them, is that the chairmen or mayors here of the local government meeting under the auspices or aegis of the Economic Planning Board, which is similar to the National Economic Council. By the way, this is something new. Anambra is pioneering pursuant to a section of the Constitution that mandates for a joint planning board. We are pioneering this. We are creating the state equivalent of the National Economic Council, which is also provided for by the Constitution. Operating on that aegis with all of them as members, decide what percentage of their revenues to contribute to a joint local government account to pay for common or pooled services, such as A, payment of salaries, allowances, gratuities, and pensions of workers and retirees under the Local Government Service Commission; provision and maintenance of primary, adult, and vocational education, including all salaries, allowances, gratuities, and pensions payable in that regard; provision and maintenance of primary health services, including all salaries, allowances, gratuities, and pensions payable in that regard; payment of allowances to traditional rulers and president generals of communities, subventions to the Local Government Service Commission, and even for community security. What many people do not know is that the Constitution puts primary education and primary health care under the local government, because many people don't even understand what the local government funds are used for. Some people talk all manner of nonsense. They just think this money is just meant to be used for whatever that comes to anybody's head, so to speak. The primary education and primary healthcare are under the local governments. But of course, you know that both health and education are in the concurrent legislative list. So both the federal government, the state governments also participate in education at all levels as well. Many also do not know that primary school teachers are pulled under UBEC. In Anambra, we'll call it Anambra State Universal Basic Education Board. We have a board that all ASUBEB, all the teachers are pulled in one. There are no teachers belonging to any particular local government. From that pool, you post them to different local governments. Workers in all the local governments are also pooled. There are no workers belonging to any local government. They are in a pool, posted from there to one local government or the other, under the Local Government Service Commission. The same thing for health workers, primary health workers. So absolute autonomy would actually mean that each local government will have to design its own primary education policy, employ its own primary school teachers, and pay them whatever it can afford and whenever it can do so. Now that Anambra has free education for primary and secondary schools, education in all public schools, then some local government may decide that they cannot afford it. It might even get to a point where some local government might ask non-indigens, unquote, of their who are workers in local governments or teachers in primary schools in their local government to, quote, go home to their local governments of origin due to budgetary or other constraints. Indeed, absolute autonomy of local governments will mean that institutions that pool resources and workers will be scrapped, including Local Government Service Commission, Local Government Pension Board, the Anambra Universal Basic Education Board, the Primary Healthcare Agency, and so on and so forth. Does it then mean, for example, that the federal UBEC or Federal Ministry of Health will have to deal with each of the 774 local governments in respect of primary education or primary health care, instead of coordinated through the state UBEC or state primary health care agency? So the federal government will have to deal with each of the 774 all by itself, without coordination. If we're talking about absolute autonomy, that cannot be. I mean, I don't know what that means. This will be a recipe for humongous chaos, not only for the administration of local government and pensions, but more so in the primary education and primary health care centers, primary health sectors. For example, my administration inherited 4 years arrears of gratuity amounting to over 14 billion in the local government system. Pensioners, those who retired, were not paid their gratuity for 4 years, okay, in the local government system. And we have been clearing this systematically. The question is, the balance that is subsisting, how are you going to pay it? How are you going to share the existing balance among the local governments, or pay pensions to over 15,000 retirees who serve the local governments as a pool without pooling of funds? This point is very important. I just think about this for a second. Many workers retired, tens of thousands of them. When they were in service, they worked as a pool. In fact, somebody may have worked all their life in the local government system without working in their own local government of origin. Moving from one local government to the other. The same thing for primary school teachers. They could have taught in all other local government, but not in their own. Now, if you say, okay, without any mechanism for pulling resources together, how are those pensioners going to be paid? Think of it for a second. Who is going to pay them? Because they belong to no local government in particular. They belong to the pool of local governments. And so that's why I say, how do you do that? We have still about some billions left to be cleared. How do you share them without pulling resources together? And I'm not surprised that the organized labor, particularly the Union of Local Government Employees, National Union of Teachers, Nigerian Union of Teachers, Nigerian Union of Pensioners, and NOLGE, Union of Local Government Employees, issued a statement, wrote to the federal government, asking the federal government not to send their salaries and pensions to local governments. They know what it was in the past. Here, I received, and I will come to that in a second. Some years ago, some local governments would even refuse rejected teachers posted to their local governments because it would jack up their wage bill. Yes, our nascent federation is evolving, but some of us as practitioners are determined to make it work for the people while we have the opportunity. I believe in building institutions, especially ones founded on due process, transparency, and rule of law. People remind me that many of the institutional reforms were established at the CBN still endure. Since the assumption of office as governor 30 months ago, we have devoted a lot of efforts in reforming and strengthening institutions, including the local government administration. Today, Anambra State, under my watch, is ranked #1 among the 36 states on fiscal transparency by budget, and among the top 5 states on financial sustainability. We inherited a local government system with 4-year arrears, 2018 to early 2022, of gratuity to retired primary school teachers and other staff of local government. We have restructured their finances back to sustainability. Everyone who retired from the local government and state civil service since my tenure began is paid their gratuity and pension. And we are on course to clear the outstanding arrears soon. 3 years arrears on counterpart funding, for universal basic education was also cleared, and resulting in billions of naira that was released by the federal UBEC, joined with the billions that we also contributed, that we have seen the results in many of our primary schools and so on. Most of the local government secretariats have been remodeled and equipped, and the local government system is once again alive. This is not to mention that 3,615 out of the 8,115 new teachers recruited under my administration are for primary schools, and they are all being paid. We do not want to go back. So, the new laws of Anambra are designed to protect our gains so far and strengthen the system for the future, consistent with the Constitution and the laws. I always remind myself that I'm a bed of passage, and so are all of us. And eventually, we'll leave office. But we must build to last for the next generations. More specifically, the new laws are designed to protect our workers at the local level and protect our primary education and primary health care from chaos and collapse. Many teachers and pensioners wrote me to passionately plead that they do not want the agony they suffered in the 90s to 2003 when some primary school teachers in some local governments were paid and others owed salaries. In fact, one old man who is a pensioner now was narrating it personally to me. Was narrating this personally to me about the agony of those days and how they were lobbying to be posted to the local government that were paying salaries. Those of them who were in local government that were being owed will be lobbying if they could be posted to the other one, and so on and so forth. And I just read a report that the Organized Labor, Nigerian Union of Local Government Employees, NOLGE, Nigerian Union of Teachers, NUT, and Union of Pensioners were urging the federal government not to transfer workers and teacher salaries to the local government in the name of local government autonomy. Mind you, no law protects the workers against non-payment of salaries or pensions by governments. In Anambra, we want to ensure that we do not wake up and hear that some local government paid salaries of primary school teachers and others did not, or that pensioners are paid and others not, or that some contribute towards UBEC counterpart funding while others do not. These laws seek to create a transparent framework to ensure that the functions mandated by the Constitution for the local government are discharged as a matter of first-line charge or the irreducible minimum. With these laws, workers and retirees from the local government system in Anambra, the primary school teachers, primary health workers, workers in the local government system under the Local Government Service Commission can sleep with their two eyes closed. The local governments and the state can also collaborate in the security of the communities, just as the states and federal government collaborate in funding even the federal security agencies. There is no tier that is, like I said, we have got one objective with 3 tiers of government pursuing the same objective. There is nowhere that you avoid collaboration. Nowhere. You have only one objective, the security and welfare of the citizens. Full stop. That's the purpose of all governments. That's it. And if you have 3 tiers of government pursuing the same objective, you must collaborate, coordinate, and work in partnerships. The thing is productive partnership, where each person has got defined roles. And what our laws have sought to do is actually to define this in a cooperative and collaborative manner. It is equally important to understand that the Constitution mandated this collaboration between the states and local government when in Section 7, subsection 3, it provides that, quote, it shall be the duty of a local government council within the state to participate in economic planning and development of the area, referred to in subsection 2 of this section, and to this end, Economic Planning Board shall be established by a law enacted by the House of Assembly of the state. End of quote. In other words, the same Constitution mandates joint planning by the state and local governments, so as to achieve that same one singular purpose of security and welfare of the citizens. This provision gave rise to the establishment of the Anambra Economic Planning Board, of which all the local government chairpersons are members, and who, among other things, decide. They are the ones to sit down in that meeting and decide what proportion of their revenues they will have to pool together to be able to deal with these services that are common to all of them. And you pay them, so that teachers at the end of the month, they are not wondering whether my own local government will pay or not, or whether my pensioners are not wondering whether they will be paid their gratuity by local government A or local government B, and so on and so forth. They pool resources together to discharge this. And it's important to appreciate that this money is not handed over to the state, but remains with the local governments under a joint pool for the discharge of certain services by the local government, which services are uniform or common among the local governments, as stated earlier. In summary, ladies and gentlemen, the laws ensure that the state can function in a cohesively planned, transparent, and sustainable manner to maximize the security and welfare of the citizens. they constitute a very smart solution to a possible systemic threat. I know this is Nigeria. Governors, like I said earlier, it's not fanciful to be a governor at this point in time. Never been. I knew that before I applied for the job. But that's part of the collateral damage. You are accused of seeking to control local government funds with insinuations that local government funds are mismanaged. Of course, in a society where public office is seen as dining table and public trust is very low, people judge others by their own standards. People judge others by what they themselves will do if they were in the position. They assume that others will do what they themselves will do if they are in that position. And that's where you hear all manner of things, local government, they are taking it so that the governor will go and put it as pocket money. It's just absolute madness. Absolute madness when you hear this kind. And you look at the people saying this and they just shrug it off. That's what they themselves would do if they were in the position. And so they assume that everybody who is in that position will do the same. With their own low standards, they judge others accordingly. While I cannot hold brief for every governor, I know that most states are struggling to ensure a solvent local government system. Personally, I wish I can be spared the headache, if not for the predictable collateral damage to the system, if we abdicate from structured oversight and collective accountability. The challenge ahead can be daunting, given the quantum rise in the wage bills because of the new minimum wage, as well as consequential rise in future pension gratuity payments. I've had meetings, hours and hours, including last night, with the labor unions, team, punching the numbers, both for the state and local governments, in terms of what this new minimum wage, which we are starting to pay end of this month, would mean for their finances. And you spend hours and hours pondering to be sure that you not only pay today, that people will be paid tomorrow. That we've hired 8,115 teachers, 3,600 something of them are in primary school, that these people will continue to receive their salary month by month, and so on and so forth. And somebody is somewhere thinking that the essence of pulling the money together is so that the governor will put in his pocket. Well, that's what they themselves will do. They don't understand what they... So the challenges ahead are actually very daunting. And I want to say that without active collaboration and coordination between state and local governments, mark my words, many local governments will end up in a huge financial mess, requiring bailouts by state governments. Or will the federal government then directly intervene in every case of insolvency among 774 local governments? This is a pertinent question. If local government A or B, we have 21 local governments. If you wake up and 10 of them can't pay salaries, they can't pay pensioners, they can't pay gratuity, who is going to intervene? Who is going to bail them out? Federal government or who? And the governor will sit down there, and then everybody will be there. In Anambra, because even if it's one local government that fails to pay, the headline will be in Anambra, teachers are not paid. Nobody is going to say, one of you is laughing. Or Agwata local government is not paid. They'll say in Anambra, the workers are not paid. And then you have to start, you are not there to begin to say, no, it's local government X. that they didn't pay. That's the beautiful thing that these laws have done, and I want to commend these progressive legislators. In conclusion, dear friends, fellow compatriots, the progressive legislations by the State Assembly are designed to unleash the creative powers of the local government, encourage peer learning, optimal development outcomes in planning and execution among the local governments, as well as novel accountability and transparency. The laws are very ingenious by creating multiple layers of collaborative oversight, whereby the local governments agree on monies to set aside and manage collectively by them for common services or first-line charges, while the rest is appropriated by the Congress of Councillors in each local government. Okay? In an innovative sense, the legislative powers, including the powers of appropriation and oversight, now to a large extent reside with the local government legislature, the the Congress of Councillors. That's a new creation by our House of Assembly, which is empowered to make bylaws, which are in the nature of regulations for the local government. It is still the State House of Assembly that is empowered by the Constitution to enact laws to guide the local governments. It is still the House of Assembly, and that section of the Constitution is still subsisting the same way that the National Assembly makes laws to guide the FCT and the area councils of Abuja. They have made the laws, creating even the legislative arm in the FCT, and so on and so forth. The same way that the Anambra State House of Assembly has now made legislation, creating and giving powers, explicitly defined legislative powers, even over budget of local government, to the Congress of Councillors, and so on. Beautiful stuff. No, they're not saying, those who've commented on the stuff, I haven't paid much attention to what I've said, but many haven't. They don't see the beauty of this. They haven't commented on the beauty of creating the national equivalent of the National Economic Council as mandated by the Constitution, that says that both the states and local government must jointly plan the state. Jointly plan the state. The Constitution mandates it. And that the House of Assembly should enact a law to that effect. That's a constitutional provision. Section 7, subsection 3 of the Constitution mandates it. Now that you have lived up to it, we will get on with our joint planning. And so, like I said, our essence is to have the state planned in a systematic, coherent manner, in a sustainable manner, so that Anambra will not go back. I don't know whether to go back to Egypt or, yeah. So, the point is that since neither the Constitution nor the Supreme Court judgment prescribes the manner of appropriation or the manner of expenditure and audit accountability for local government funds, okay, the House of Assembly and the Congress of Councillors fill in the blanks under the new laws pursuant to Section 7 of the Constitution. Because I raised the question earlier. When you go to Federation account and you finish, the money is going to the federal government. They are not spent by the president. The money is going to the state government. They are not spent by the governor. At the national level, the National Assembly must pass appropriation law that spells out how every kobo belonging to the federal government will be spent. Who should spend it, on what, and the process of accountability and the exercise oversight over how these monies are spent at the federal level. At the state government level, the governor just doesn't spend. The House of Assembly must pass the appropriation law, spelling out what will be spent on what, and when, and how. and also provides oversight. And we raised the question before. That, yes, we agree. Send these monies directly, and I think it will encourage greater participation at the local level. But once you send it there, send it to the local government, the question is, then what happens to it there? It's not just send it. Yes, it's sent, but what happens to it? And that's where the House of Assembly has come handy in terms of the powers under the Constitution to now spell out what will happen to that money when it gets there. Who makes the appropriation? Who exercises oversight over it? How are you going to spend it in such a way that the system doesn't collapse? How do you ensure that the basic common services as mandated by the Constitution to the local government are also being met, and that you don't get into a very chaotic situation, as it were? And so, finally, I said that the evolution of our federalism is a work in progress, and the new Anambra laws constitute creative and progressive additions to institution building. May the Federal Republic of Nigeria continue to win. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
There's the next standing wherever we are.
For the question, so that they will take it live to question, but you have actually addressed all their questions.
Yeah. Get on. If anybody has any questions, say maybe.
You have a question, just raise your hand up, identify yourself and the medium you represent. Okay, Madam Farrow. Are you ready?
Excellency, my name is Okay Madam for
I saw you laughing when they were, yeah.
Such studies will come again. Sir, you are able to explain clearly in clear terms how the consolidated fund account of the local government will be taken care of. My question is this: we have local government areas with different amount of allocations. Some are higher, some are lower. That committee, are there modalities or ways of trying to get the particular percentage each local government will remit? Because the allocations are different.
Oh, yes. Actually, that is the beauty of it. Thank you very much. The beauty and novelty of this law is that it's, I don't want to sound immodest, but it's a very well thought out piece of legislation. Okay? Now you have all these joint institutions. You have Local Government Service Commission. You have Primary Health Care Agency. You have the ASOBEB, and so on and so forth. Let's say, for example, take issue of salaries or the pension board. They know what the pension is, what these amounts are. They come together. These agencies come together and institutions, and they put together what is it that it will cost to pay off this so that these teachers will be paid at the end of each month. Because there is a pool. They are in a pool where you pay them off. The same day, 25th of the month, you get your alert in Anambra here. Now, when they agree on this and we put up, the reason we didn't begin to put in even specific percentage there, the law doesn't prescribe that, is that what if the total amount required to pay for these common services that are agreed and so on is 10 naira, and the gross receipt by the local government is 100? Isn't it 10%? Isn't it? So, and another time something changes and it's now 20 naira. Isn't the percentage now 20? And it still remains 20 over 100. Isn't it 20%? And possibly maybe the next time the revenue goes up to 200 and you have 20 naira to pay for all the agreed common services. Isn't the percentage 10% again? So it's not something to go and put on a piece of paper. That's why they all meet, and where they take this decision is in at the planning board, where the 21 mayors are members. Are you getting that? Yeah. So this is them jointly in a transparent, open manner, saying to the world, this is how we spend our money. Okay? We will pull together X% of this in order to deal with these joint services, including, let me even get down to it, even community vigilante and security. Yesterday I was all over the state, going around and monitoring our Monday sit at home. And in various places I drove past, you saw the local community vigilante, you know, suited and came out and charged and trying to take charge of their villages and so on and so forth. And with the mayors, you know, stomping out themselves, and some of them with several of these vigilante and the DPOs, the divisional police officers, you know, traversing the places and so on and so forth. Yeah, you can put on some resources. These local vigilante people are going to be paid. Local government, I mean, the traditional rulers, the president generals of communities, and so on and so forth. You put together funds in a pool, and they are paid automatically from the pool. Nobody has to go and start chasing somebody. Have you paid? And so the mayors will focus on the more fundamental issues that they have to deal with. That's a bigger issue even about generating internally generated revenue, which we are having a different conversation about, as it were. Yes, any other?
Yes, go ahead, Charlotte.
Good day, sir. Yeah, your submission was so comprehensive that also incorporated what I call the unspoken capital talk. That is what other people will do. But I want to ask the government, you pointed out that absolute autonomy may not be possible, so that even the Supreme Court prescribed what we call the structured cooperation. And I want to ask you, to that extent that the Supreme Court gave such provision, are you ready to grant that kind of autonomy too?
I think, no, thank you very much, Joy. You know what I hear this about, as if it's within anybody to grant or not to grant. Please, governor doesn't grant, and nor does president grant or not grant. We're operating within the ambit of the law. The Constitution is very clear about what should happen or should not happen. Like I said, in a country where you have one objective, the security and welfare of the citizens, that's what the 3 tiers of government are designed to achieve. In our Constitution is so beautifully framed such that it basically mandates continuous collaboration and coordination and interaction among the 3 tiers of government. The president doesn't have absolute autonomy. In fact, I mean, like the federal government doesn't have absolute, it has to work with the state governments. And that's why you created the National Economic Council, where the federal government and the states plan together, coordinate together. That's the purpose of the National Economic Council created by the Constitution. At the state level, the same Constitution mandates joint planning by state and local governments. Mandates is mandatory, that you have to plan together. So there is nothing like any granting. We must work together. There's no if and but about it, except we jettison the Constitution, as it were. But so far the Constitution is there. The Constitution mandates that the State House of Assembly should exercise legislative oversight over the local government. So the governor cannot grant or not grant, as it were. Just like the same Constitution grants, provides for the states, as it were. But under some collaborative arrangement, Through our joint planning, coordination at the National Economic Council, we can meet. The states and the federal government meet. Okay, the federal government has a project on metering, for example. On metering. That's a federal government initiative. But the states have keyed into that. We support it. And the money belonging to the states are being deducted at source to fund it. Yes, we understand it. Yes, we have to fund collective security. It's being deducted at source, at FAC, to fund the security, tens of billions every month, being deducted at source to fund security, which is exclusively a federal thing. But we understand it, the states understand it, that this is their emergency measures. We understand them, that we all have to, we have only one country. We have one economy. There is no separate one. What constitutes Anambra State is the 21 local governments. That's what makes Anambra State. What is it that makes the country is the 36 states and FCT. So, the president doesn't have any different territory. Maybe perhaps the FCT. Even at that, the law prescribed the National Assembly oversights it, so to speak. That's all. So we all have to know the idea about this autonomy, non-autonomy. It's quite a very strange conversation. We all have one objective. We must work together. The federal, the states, the local government. One objective. One objective. Different states, different 774 local governments, one economy, one objective, security and welfare of the citizens. We must all work together to get it done. That is nothing like anybody. It's just, let's do it as the Constitution prescribes. State Assembly, you have your oversight over this as the Constitution has said. National Assembly, you have your oversight over FCT and the area councils, and then the federal government. The State Assembly, you have dual function, oversight over the state government and oversight over the local government. That's the Constitution. That's not, no governor will grant or not grant. Okay.
So, Punch.
Your Excellency, my name is Kenna of Yanuri. I like for Punch papers.
Punch. Don't punch me.
I know what I'm saying.
We have dealt extensively on this subject matter. But beyond conversation, there is this insinuation out there that governors, including you, secretly and forcibly force the local government chairman to sign an oath or undertaking to surrender that.
We're talking about the wrong insinuation. For you to eat. Insinuation.
Well, you know, I think I said it to you. I said it earlier that people, you know, this country is a very interesting one. Nigeria, there's no dull moment, and all these bits about the mayors are here. Well, I don't know. Somebody even asked me, said some people they signed that some places they signed resignation letters and so on and so forth and checks. Please, if you have signed, you haven't given me, so to speak. So it's quite funny, actually. I mean, that's the only thing I can say. Very, very ridiculous. What do we have sought out to do in Anambra? Like I said, I'm an institution person. I like to build it. You see a problem, you approach it from, you know, a systematic, foundational and fundamental level. You go to how do we solve the problem that sustainably it can be solved today, tomorrow, and next. So instead of ad hoc arrangements, why do I need to get you, go and get me? We write it in the law. Transparency, so everybody knows how it works. Everybody now can get the Anambra State Local Government Administration Law. You can get the Anambra State Economic Planning Board and Development Law. You know, you get it and see how it is supposed to work. Everything on the table. So what else? Everything is on the table. We don't want any ad hoc or going to sign secret this one. You sign secret what for? I'm talking about maybe going to shrine. No, we don't do that here. We don't do this kind of thing here. It's unnecessary. And that's why we are codifying everything in law to be transparent, open. Okay? And they will continue to evolve. These two pieces of legislation are Anambra's own contribution to institution building. I can see our labor people are here. The chair of labor, NLC, is here. The NUT, National Union of Teachers, this thing is here. And NOLGE is here. And so on and so forth. They are the ones they have written and asking, please don't send our money down there. We know what will happen. You know. No, this is the experience of the past. It's the experience of the past. Because many don't even understand what local government money is meant for. They don't understand it. By the time you finish paying teachers, paying pensioners, gratuity, the health workers, even fixing the primary health centers, you don't even have resources to fix the primary schools. You don't have money. You don't have money to fix them. State has to come in. The state government, even the primary school is in the supposed to be taken out by the local government thing. But the local government resources happen to be a pittance relative to what will be required to fix the primary schools. So the state government still puts in humongous resources, even in those areas where the Constitution says it's for local government. How do you do that without collaboration between the state and the local government? How? I don't know any local government here with its own allocation coming from FAC that can sustainably fund primary schools, primary health, deal with sanitation, they will pay their backlog of areas of gratuity and pensions and so on and so forth there and so on and so forth. And waste management and so on and so forth.
Or even Taru.
No. I'm even saying these ones that are already specified in the Constitution. I don't know any local government that will have the resources to do all of this on a sustainable basis. No. The state must put in significant resources for that to happen. And for this to happen, you need collaboration, you need coordination, and that's why the beauty of the Joint Planning Board as passed by our State House of Assembly. I want once again to appreciate all of you and put on record and thank immensely the House of Assembly, led by, you guys are the progressives. This is the Anambra House of Assembly is truly innovative, progressive bunch of legislators who are looking forward to tomorrow. They are trying to solve the problem that could create systemic chaos or crisis. They have ingeniously created institutions to make sure that A, we obey the Constitution, give consequential effect, consequential operational effect to the Supreme Court judgment, while preserving the institutions of the local government to operate on a sustainable manner. And I think that's quite ingenious. that I won't be surprised if some others begin to look in that direction as a way to go. I want also to appreciate our, I understand our speaker, the minority leader, the National Assembly, leader of the National Assembly caucus is here. Then the mayors. Yeah, I saw some of you yesterday. Will continue to win. Together, we will continue to lift Anambra higher and higher. Amen. And our joint planning, Anambra will continue to be great. We want to appreciate you. We appreciate the labor unions, and for the labor, you can now sleep well. Yeah? Thank you. The NLC chairman is saying thank you, sir. So you can now sleep. So when we start paying, everybody can go on, and we can now get on to the job to be done. The
25th will not change.
They said the 25th alert will not change. Minority leader, thank you very much, and all of you. So we have both the majority leader and the minority leader all here, members of the House of Assembly, members of the media. Let the conversation continue. This is Nigeria. We all have a duty to make this country great. And we'll continue to work 24 hours every day to make our own contributions. And may Nigeria continue to win. Thank you, and God bless you. Thank you. Thank you.
Solution is here.
Okay. Okay, we'll take you, Tony.
Take this out. Take this out. TVC,
Where am I?
Let's some flying ball. Let's some flying ball.
Welcome back from the live telecast. We'll now continue with our regular programs. Stay tuned.
Does it matter whether there was a problem with them or not? What matters is that a case has been instituted and some states have joined, have applied to join, and they have been joined. So